we have some major trade speculation for the Edmonton Oilers in a vulnerable area where many saw the Oilers have some key problems this weekend and throughout the entire regular season. All that and more today on Oilers Digest as the Oilers continue their road trip and head into Florida for their next two games. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe here to Oilers Digest. If you're part of the 23% that have subscribed, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for helping support the channel. But folks, if you haven't subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Hit that button down below for any and all Oiler news as we get much closer to the March 7th trade deadline and things getting a whole lot juicier, not just for the Oilers, but around the league. So let's get right into it. Ironing out the crease, yes, we saw this weekend with not just Stuart Skinner, but also Calvin Pickard getting shelled in back-to-back games against Philadelphia in Washington, and many are becoming more clear to the solution that the Oilers need. They need to switch up in net. They need to switch up in the crease. And when it comes to a target that's been named throughout the weeks here, John Gibson, Elliot Friedman pouring some very cold water on that rumor. He said Gibson got hurt again. Of course, he missed the third period against the Boston Bruins on Saturday night. Left after the second period with an upper body injury. He said Gibson got hurt again. I know everyone's heard my Gibson Edmonton thing. There's just no way Edmonton can do that. They just can't. He keeps getting hurt, and not only is the injury issues a problem for the Oilers, but also his term, his salary for where he is at in his career, but of course his injury history. I mean, upper body injuries, illnesses, abdominal strains, lower body injuries, all types of injuries here for John Gibson. And the sad part is, that's not all of them. I mean, two whole screenshots here of John Gibson injuries and just missed time here for the Anaheim Ducks ever since he came into the league, with Anaheim just nothing but a walking band-aid. When he's on, yeah, he's on, but when he's hurt, he's always a little bit of a question mark, and the Oilers just not, willing to roll the dice on that. But another name brought up by Darren Dreger in Ray Ferraro. You all saw him in overtime last Thursday night against the United States, putting Canada on his back before Connor McDavid got the winner on Connor Hellebuyck. Yes, I'm talking about Jordan Binnington from Darren Dreger here on the Dregs and Ray podcast. He had this to say about Jordan Binnington. Said he got a text from a club executive non-related to the St. Louis Blues saying, "What do you think the percentages that Army Doug Armstrong parlays this Jordan Binnington success?" And then he answers the question. 99.9%. Of course, you saw the success that Binnington had, in the gold medal game, the championship game. Not so much throughout the rest of the tournament. I mean, he had some leakers on him throughout the tournament. Sweden against the U.S. in Montreal, and especially the game against Finland, where Canada almost blew a 4-0 lead, and I think Finland scored 3 in a matter of 4 or 5 minutes there. So Binnington, sure, got the job done for Canada under the bright lights, but the rest of the tournament, in my eyes, I thought Aiden Hill should have got the start going into the Finland game, but what do I know? But for Binnington, Armstrong saw the world-class performance he saw in overtime, and he's trying to cash in on Jordan Binnington while he can, and he might as well try to fleece anybody asking for Binnington, or just anything in general. I mean, Doug Armstrong is a cutthroat GM in the National Hockey League. We all saw it with the offer sheet fiasco last year. And Ray Ferraro asking, should Edmonton, go back to the St. Louis Blues there and ask for Jordan Binnington? He says, why not? Or if you're Army, why not? Edmonton is an interesting place, because if you don't have faith that there's one more gear to Stuart Skinner, then of course you have to look at it. But you're not bringing Binnington into play with Skinner. What are you doing with that? Of course, that was the main reason why Edmonton didn't pull the trigger on a John Gibson deal earlier in the season, because Gibson wanted the crease to himself, not in a 1A, 1B situation with Stuart Skinner. Bowman said, goaltending wasn't, a main priority with him, because, he had faith in Skinner and Pickard. But when it comes to goaltending, just looking at the hot and cold streaks here, of course, the blue streaks, representing the hot streak for Stuart Skinner, and then green representing just an abysmal save percentage in record there. And you can kind of see that it alternates, like I said, hot and cold, and that's just not what you need from a goaltender. You need someone who can be consistent all the time. Am I saying Jordan Binnington is consistent all the time? Not at all, but you've seen him have some clutch performances on the big stage. I mean, he's pretty much won it all at every single level. The international stage, the NHL, the Stanley Cup back in 2019 with the Blues, the Owen Sound Attack winning the OHL championship in 2011. But when it comes to a tandem here, I don't think, if they did ever manage to acquire Binnington, they would just relegate Stuart Skinner back to a backup role and not the 1A, 1B that many are suggesting, much to the chagrin of Stuart Skinner. No disrespect to him at all, but you need to give the keys to somebody else before Stuart Skinner finally realizes his potential and goes back to his Calder nomination season, his rookie season. But for Binnington, he's not number one on my list, but you know what? He is on my list after that performance in overtime. I mean, a little bit of recency bias, not a little bit, that's a lot of recency bias, but I mean, those were ridiculous saves on Austin Matthews and Brady Tkachuk there at the side of the nets. And even Ray Ferraro says, don't be seduced by one game, because everybody has them. Binnington had his when everybody was watching. He took all the pressure and he munched it up and he said, F it. And he was amazing, but I don't know. And of course, everybody does have the one games. Even Stuart Skinner had his games. Last year in the LA series, that 1-0 shutout in Los Angeles to bring Edmonton that much closer to advancing to the second round. Game 6 against Dallas, when I think Edmonton only had 10 shots on goal the entire night and clinched the Campbell Conference trophy there. But Binnington and Skinner, it wouldn't be much of a 1A, 1B. I think Binnington would get the crease until, he falters, and that's when Stuart Skinner gets back into it. But it's all speculation at this point from Ferraro and Dreger. Nothing more concrete about that, but just taking a look at Jordan Binnington's stats ever since he came into the league there. Had his debut in 2015-2016 there, and then didn't make another appearance for the Blues until 2018-19, the phenomenal season that he had, leading the Blues from last place to the top of the mountain there in the NHL, with 1.89 goals against average and a 9.27. And ever since that, sort of been fluctuating there, 9.12 and 9.10, down to a 9.01 and an 8.94. But last year with a 9.13, but so far this season hasn't replicated the numbers of the past there, with an 8.98 with the St. Louis Blues there. So up and down, fluctuating. But like I said, Jordan Binnington on the big stage, he has won it all. And the Oilers, they don't even need, they don't need good. They just need average. And when it comes to the NHL Edge stats for Jordan Binnington, average is completely what he has here when it comes to, overall save percentage, high danger save percentage, mid-range, percentage games over 900. And so it's pretty much just bang on league average for most of these, if not all of the stats. But for his salary there, you can see the year 4 and 18 team no trade list at $6 million. So I don't know if the Blues would be willing to retain any of that. If they are, the price goes up even more so, rather than the Four Nations tax that they throw onto Jordan Binnington. But it's tough to say if Binnington put the Oilers on his no team trade list, or any of the 7 Canadian teams. I mean, playing goal for a Canadian team, you may as well be a madman. You could throw me you could back the Brinks truck and I still wouldn't be the starting goalie for a Canadian NHL team. The pressure is, for some goalies, just not all that. Not just goalies, just anybody in a Canadian market. I know Radko Gudas, he refuses to play for a Canadian team just because of the pressure in the markets there, compared to where he is right now in Anaheim or any other franchise that he's been a part of. The Tampa Bay Lightning, the Florida Panthers. Some players just are not cut out for the Canadian market. But when it comes to other targets here for the Oilers, I'd like a guy like Alex Lyon, because his price point would be a lot lower than Jordan Binnington's there. Of course, the Red Wings still have Cam Talbot. I'd prefer Alex Lyon over Cam Talbot, though, or even a guy, my number one here, Karel Vejmelka of the Utah Hockey Club. Awful team, but fantastic statistics here for Vejmelka. Utah still in the fight for a playoff spot here, but a 2.52 goals against average and a 909 save percentage. Of course, Darren Dreger noted that ongoing contract discussions between Utah and goaltender Karel Vejmelka, given the recent goalie extensions, there's a decent crop of comparisons to work with, and depending on progress of negotiations, Vejmelka is potentially an interesting trade target there. Now that is my guy, absolutely. Karel Vejmelka, I've been saying for months now, if it's not Gibson, go get Vejmelka. And when it comes to comparing him to the other goaltenders like Pickard, uh, Stuart Skinner, and John Gibson and Jordan Binnington, Vejmelka, top of the even strength chart here. 9-16 save percentage, even strength 2.21, and a 6.75 goal saved above expected there. And you can see Jordan Binnington at the bottom of this list, and Stuart Skinner narrowly outplaying him. And not just 5-on-5, Karel Vejmelka is dominating, but also on the PK, even though you can see Stuart Skinner at the top of this list, his save percentage on the PK, not very good there, and that's the reason why the Oilers' PK has been statistically struggling, because they just can't get a save. Meanwhile, Karel Vejmelka with an 882 on the PK there. So Vejmelka, my guy. Binnington, it wouldn't be so much of a consolation prize. I just think that'd be a bit of a desperation move from Stan Bowman. He saw how good Binnington was in Boston there against the United States, and I think it would just be fool's gold to acquire him to think that he can be like that every single game, when really he's only like that at TD Garden. If the Oilers are playing the rest of the season in Boston, sure, acquire him, throw everything in the book for him, but yeah, other than that, the last time he got to this big stage, other than the Four Nations, was, I do believe, the 2022 second round against the Colorado Avalanche, where the Colorado Avalanche got that one in 6 games off of a last-second Darren Helm goal. But for the Oilers until March 7th, there's lots of question marks, not just in goaltending, but, you know, the bottom 6, a fourth-line center, a depth defenseman on the left side. So still lots of work for Stan Bowman to be done before March 7th. It's his first trade deadline as Oilers GM, so hopefully he makes it a memorable one as the Oilers continue their road tripping. Yes, they are in Florida for their next 2 games against the Tampa Bay Lightning and Florida Panthers there. But just taking a look at the practice lines here from Bob Stauffer this morning, you can see there Connor McDavid, who knows why he wasn't on the ice, maintenance day, you know, just taking a break from, you know, all the commotion these past few weeks here with Team Canada in the Four Nations face-off. But some interesting lineups today coming out of this one with Podkolzin and Draisaitl, Matt Savoy, Jeff Skinner, Zach Hyman, and Victor Arvidsson. Matthias Janmark, after he was scratched last game, finds his way back on the third line next to Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Connor Brown. And then lastly here, Corey Perry, Adam Henrique, and Kasperi Kapanen. And so the line blender out yet again from Kris Knoblauch, trying to see what is sticking and what isn't. On the backhand here, nothing's really changed. Ekholm, Bouchard, and then Darnell Nurse in a rotation of Troy Stecher and Ty Emberson. This might be an indication that, you know, Troy Stecher might be coming back into the lineup in favor of Ty Emberson, which would be the absolute wrong move here, but I digress here. And then lastly here, Brett Kulak and John Klingberg here as they continue the John Klingberg experiment in their next 3 games. The Oilers going 0 for 2 right now on the current road trip, but it doesn't get any easier with the 8th, 9th, and 11th ranked Florida Panthers, Carolina Hurricanes, and Tampa Bay Lightning. So for the Oilers, these will be 3 real tough tests, but I mean, this is the way you build a playoff team, by playing playoff caliber hockey clubs, and there's no way to get better other than playing them. So it'll be very interesting to see. We will have a preview tomorrow against the Tampa Bay Lightning, see how both lineups stack up against each other out of the Four Nations face-off. Of course, you know, McDavid teammates with, you know, Anthony Cirelli and Brandon Hagel there, and facing off against Team Canada's coach, John Cooper. So lots to talk about tomorrow. But that is it for today's video. Let me know down in the comments what you think about a potential Jordan Binnington deal. Of course, you know, Doug Armstrong and Stan Bowman not exactly liking each other ever since last summer, but hopefully some can hope that they come to terms on a Jordan Binnington deal. But that is it. Make sure you subscribe here to the channel if you haven't already. And folks, have a great rest of your Monday and a great start to the rest of the week. Take care, everybody. I'm Matt.